Good evening, and welcome to the Positional Sports Talk Show. Host, live streaming on Facebook Live, Twitch, and our Positional Sports Talk Show YouTube channel. We are a sports talk show made for the fans, from the perspective of fans, presented by lifelong sports fans. We will provide our opinions and positions on the hottest topics in sports for you this evening. My name is Big Reg, and I'm joined by my partners in crime. We got the full crew here this evening. What's going on, J3? How you feeling this evening?
Yay, yay! Feeling good, feeling good. Let's get it.
The professor's in the building. What's going on, Professor? And before we go any further, I'd just like to say from the rest of the post crew, happy birthday. Professor celebrated birthday yesterday.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Yay!
Like I said yesterday, I'm kicking in the door, waving the 4-4. I'm 44 for y'all. So I'm happy, I'm ready to go. Praise the Lord.
All right, all right. We got Ed in the building. What's going on, my brother Ed?
Man, I'm feeling better than Aaron Rodgers.
Starting already.
Ready to talk some sports? Good to see everybody tonight. Let's do it.
And my man Jay Wills is in the building. What's up, Jay Wills? How you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good. I'm like James Harden right now. I don't know exactly how I fit in, so I'm just trying to work it out.
All right. All right. Well, this evening, we're going to kick off talking about the NFL Conference Championships. And then we're going to get into the NFL front office decisions. And yeah, we're going to talk about that. Give a little NBA update, talk about the UFC, our post takes, and some other topics that caught our attention. Of course, our final post of the evening. We appreciate you all tuning in. Sit back and relax. Enjoy Post on the Positional Sports Talk Show channel. So, fellas, we had two games that, depending on who you were listening to, each game could have gone either way before the games actually started. First game up, NFC Championship, Green Bay Packers versus Tampa Bay Bucks. Everybody said the old man, 43, with all his Florida boys that ain't used to the cold, ain't going to be able to go up to Green Bay and beat that bad man, Aaron Rodgers. Hey, they put that thing on him. If it wasn't for Brady trying to let them back in the game, that would have got ugly.
Hey man, but
go ahead.
What happened to Aaron Rodgers though? I mean, for real. I mean, this dude acted like he couldn't run. I mean, he stayed in the pocket, took sacks, didn't run out the pocket. I mean, I'm like, what happened? There was one play where he literally could have ran for the first down and or touchdown, and he ain't do nothing. I'm like, what's wrong? Is it me or did I miss something?
Yeah, I was mad at that play too. He could have actually probably scrambled and got in the end zone because he has wheels. And I'm like, what was he doing? I don't know. He looked.
Didn't somebody tell y'all last week that Aaron didn't like getting touched? Somebody told y'all that Aaron didn't like getting touched.
Yeah, we know.
There was going to be a push up the middle, which means he couldn't step up, which is what he likes to do, which would have let the pass rush from the outside get in. And the Buccaneers got on that behind. Shaq Barrett, I think, had 3 sacks.
3 sacks.
My man, 3-finger Jason Pierre-Paul, he had 2 sacks. He wasn't trying to get any of that smoke. And you know why he didn't run that play? Because it was open. That young fella, Devin White, he was on the goal line. So he was going to get blown up.
Hey, man, listen, it's either do or die. You either score or you go home. And obviously he was ready to go home because he wasn't playing like he was trying to win. I'm just saying.
But can we all admit that we've seen this before? This Aaron Rodgers, as great as he is, I think the narrative on him is going to start changing just a bit because, after all, after this game, he's now 1-4 in conference championship games, and so the last 2 back-to-back NFC championship games, Aaron Rodgers has been a part of. Last year, they blamed it on he got smoked by San Francisco, which was a rematch from an earlier smoke in the season last year. And then this year, they got smoked in Tampa and then come around and get smoked at home. The narrative last year was, well, this was his first year. Him and LaFleur ain't on the same page. I think Adams was a little dinged up last year in the championship game, and they say he only had Adams to throw to. So it's starting to become a pattern where Aaron Rodgers in big games is just not cutting it. I mean, it's out there. I mean, the film is out there. I'm not making this up.
What is he, 1-4 in championship games?
He's 1-4 in conference championship games, NFC championship games. Now, before they said, well, the other ones, the previous times they were away. Well, he had everything he wanted. He had the number 1 seed. He had a Southern team coming to Green Bay, 20-something degrees outside. And if you watch that game, like you said, Big Reg, if Brady wasn't consciously trying to throw the other team balls, it wouldn't even been a close game.
Yeah, because those 2 interceptions and they didn't get not 1 point from it. That was terrible. I mean, literally 3 and out, 3. Yeah, exactly. 2-3 outs and then gave the ball right back to Brady. Like, really? Aaron Rodgers, where you at?
I saw Tom Brady throw an interception. I had to run out the room for a second. I came back, and the Bucs had the ball again. I'm like, what happened?
Yeah.
Exactly.
That offensive calling was terrible. I don't know what. I don't know if he was gun shy or he just didn't want to go through his progressions or what, but it was terrible.
So we got to talk about the elephant in the room a little bit. Everybody's killing the coach for making that decision to kick the field goal versus letting Rodgers go for it on 4th down. And while I agree that wasn't a good choice, if Aaron Rodgers would have hit the wide receiver on the 1st down, they would have had a touchdown. Mm-hmm. If he would have ran out the pocket on the 3rd down, worst case scenario, he might get to the 3, probably 2. He's going to get blown up, but he's going to get close and make the decision easier.
He'd have got the 1st down, though.
I agree.
But see, it's not an elephant in the room, Big Reg. What's going on is this is I say this all the time. This is what happens when you give unqualified people coach a job. Whether it's whether it's in the coaching ranks, whether it's in the government ranks, whether it's in the private sector ranks, whatever job that requires strong leadership and experience. This is a classic case of this man, LaFleur, his 2nd year. We all know he was not necessarily qualified or ready to assume the leadership position, head coach job of the Green Bay Packers. And so that whole game was not necessarily a shining moment for him. So, okay, you come down, it's 2 minutes and 5 seconds left in the game. It's 4th down, and you elect to kick the field goal. I thought that was a bad decision like you did, Reg. But let's back up for a minute. Let's go to 1st down. They have Aaron Jones, a Pro Bowl running back. They have a solid offensive line. Yes, they're down their left tackle, Bakari, out with a knee. But still, they have their solid offensive line in front of them. I know they didn't look good on pass protection this game. And you have your first pick, your 2nd round pick, the kid from Boston College. You have all this available. You throw 3 straight. Look, Aaron Rodgers will be in the Hall of Fame, despite my reservations about him and big man moments. A surefire lock first ballot Hall of Famer. Yeah, I understand that, but you have to mix it up. You can't just throw it 3 straight times and say, okay, well, what do we do now? They got to at least give Jones at least a chance to run the ball. That was dumb play calling. 1st down, 2nd down, 3rd down, and ultimately 4th down. That's just my.
Let's just call it what it was, fellas. He didn't have the stones. He didn't have the gonads. If you think about the coaches, head coaches, and offensive coordinators who are left, one Eric Bieniemy is one. My man Leftwich from this area. Their head coaches would have gone for it. I mean, if you got Brady, Mahomes, whatever, even Doug Peterson would have picked his best play and said, we're going to go out there. I got Aaron Rodgers. We're going to make it happen or we're going to go home. But to kick a field goal and to give it back to Brady, he's not giving the ball back. I mean, I don't care under what circumstances you thought your defense really didn't do anything the entire game. Like you guys said, if he didn't throw those picks, that game would have gotten really ugly because they were pretty much doing whatever they wanted to against their defense. They made that one run that Fournette did when he ran 20 yards and just spun and just rough shot over their defense. I'm like, man, I knew at that point the game was over. I was like, really? That's what y'all gonna do? So,
well, they actually had a chance if they wouldn't have had that penalty with like a minute and 20-something seconds left.
Come on, man, let's be real. That dude was getting roasted all game. All he could do was grab that guy, and he didn't grab him once. He grabbed him twice. Full extension in the middle of the field. Come on, there's no way you can't throw that play.
You couldn't hide that one.
Understand? I'm just saying, if it wasn't for that play, they might would have had a chance to getting the ball back and trying to go downfield. That's all I'm saying.
But
he was definitely raping. He was raping them. Yeah.
You gonna bet that Tom Brady, the GOAT, can't get a first down? Not that he can't drive him to a field goal, that he can't get a first down. Come on now. Well, we gonna leave that game alone. Congratulations to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers becoming the first team in the new modern era to actually be the host of a Super Bowl in their home stadium. So that's going to be interesting. The nightcap. The question was, were the Bills ready for prime time?
No.
All week, everybody was like,
"Ooh,
is Mahomes going to play?" Damn right Mahomes was going to play. And Patrick Mahomes reminded everybody who he was.
He that dude. Yeah.
And who he's got, his two amigos he got with him, that we don't care what y'all do on defense. Right. We're going to destroy you whenever we want to, and we're going to play with you like we've been playing with the rest of the NFL. We've been keeping games close because we could.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Can I ask y'all a question? Can I put a question on the floor?
Of course.
Can I put a question on the floor?
Absolutely.
Let's be honest with ourselves and look at the situation as it is. You have Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and Tyreek Hill. That's it. That's what makes Kansas City explosive on offense. Are we in agreement yet? Or are we still there?
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
All right. Why can't you assign somebody to cover Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill? It's only two. It's really only two men you have to watch. I swear I did not see Kelce covered one time in that game, and they had their best cornerback covering him throughout the game, and he could not do nothing with him. Nothing.
Kelce is a bad dude. And when I tell you every defensive player and defensive coordinator and coach in the NFL are terrified of Tyreek. Did you see him juking people? He'll catch the ball for 3 yards, and he could take it to the house at any time because he get the juking. That play he ran to the sideline, caught the ball, and cut back across the field. If it wasn't for that other cornerback that was on the opposite side of the field, realizing I better run my behind off to catch him at the 5, he was going to score that play. Tyreek is scary fast. Mm-hmm. And he's not one of those normal fast guys that's little and fast. He's short, stocky, and fast. So he got them quick twitchies. Whew.
He can break tackles. There's nothing for him to get open. And Andy Reid is tenured enough. He's patient enough to take a whole series to work you into the offense. He's not worried about it. He's not worried about possibly after a 3-and-out and have to give the ball back and hop back on defense, he's cool with that. I'll deal with that if I need to activate a player right now that's going to benefit me in the third and fourth quarter. So I take my hats off to Andy Reid. It's not his first rodeo with having an ultra-talented running back and knowing how to get this guy open. He literally wrote the book on it. So if individuals haven't seen him back in his Philly days, they definitely not ready for him in Kansas City with a cheetah. And I've never seen a human chase down a cheetah ever. I just haven't seen.
All right. Well, I didn't want to bring this up. I don't like to be critical of certain coaches. But Sean McDermott and Leslie Frazier. Sean McDermott is a defensive coordinator by trade. Leslie Frazier, the defensive coordinator of the Buffalo Bills, obviously is a defensive coordinator by trade. They both came from the Andy Reid coaching tree, meaning they were defensive coordinators at one point in time for Andy Reid, meaning they sat in meetings and studied this man extensively. They seen him and listened to him talk. You mean to tell me you can't come up with a decent game plan to watch two players? Come on, man.
They have never seen anything like that because Andy Reid, while Donovan McNabb was a bad man, Michael Vick that he ain't never had nothing like Patrick Mahomes. And let's be honest. Those years in Philly, when he was going to the championships, their wide receivers most of the time sucked.
That's true. I agree with all that. I think Andy Reid finally has players that he's always dreamed of having, but I don't know. I just think that it just didn't look like it looked like the players weren't prepared. I think the players were like their emotions got the best of them. Obviously, you seen Josh Allen self-destructing before our own eyes, and he had a great season. Nothing during this season would suggest that he would have that type of game against Kansas City.
Except for the fact that they spanked them earlier in the year.
Well,
man, Big Reg, what you talking about, man? He had the people's champ Freddie Mitchell catching passes for him up in Philadelphia, man. You ain't love Freddie Mitchell? That blood waist at the end there. He was Mr. Discount Double Check well before Aaron Rodgers.
And what happened to Freddie Mitchell after he got out of Philly?
I never heard of him. Where'd he go?
Exactly. You never heard a word about him.
Exactly.
But yeah, your boy Josh Allen. I think this was a learning process for him.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
He took a huge jump this year. They actually got him a legit number one game-breaking wide receiver that could terrify the defenses, which made everybody else better. Bills need to draft a running back. There's going to be a pretty nice one that may be around in the first round if they're smart. That can do everything coming out this year, coming out of Alabama, that they might be around at the end of the first round. Just saying. But they fixed their running game, keep growing. The only problem is they're going to have to go to Kansas City every year.
Yep.
Because unless they start breaking off pieces of that group, they're going to be a problem for a few years.
If they smart, they keep that dynasty together.
Well, it'd be like Indianapolis have to go to New England year after year. It'd be Brady against Peyton Manning, back and forth. So we might have that on our hands right now. Who knows?
I'll sign up for that. And you're talking about your boy Leslie Frazier.
Serums in one with 21 potent plant extracts, including turmeric. In 7 days, skin appears smoother,
Who's that?
firmer, and more radiant. Double serum from Clarence.
Pardon us, folks. We had a little technical difficulties. We apologize for that.
Paid for that advertisement. What skincare company is that? I'm calling them back.
You are hilarious. Thank you for that, Jay Wills. I don't know where that came from. I apologize for that. But yeah, speaking about your defensive coordinator, rumor is that he's going to be the sacrificial lamb to go down to Texans and try to talk Deshaun out of, leaving. But we'll get to that in a little bit. So that's going to wrap up our conference championship talk. We're not going to get into the Super Bowl talk this week. We're going to leave that for next week because we got more important discussion to get into. As my man Ed said, where all the brothers at? What's going on? The NFL had 7 head coaching jobs open this season. After firing a black coach, a few front office positions open, and so far 6 of those positions have been filled. And of the 6, there was one minority, Mr. Salah, former defensive coordinator for the San Francisco 49ers, who's now the new head coach of the New York Jets. But what's up with all the big-time coordinators throughout? You saw it this Sunday. Who were the coordinators of most of these teams? 2 coordinators for Tampa Bay. Black coaches. Yep. The offensive coordinator for the best offense the league has seen probably in the past 3 years. Black coach. He can't get a job. How you explain that? All these other, as you say, Andy Reid proteges out there that have gotten head coaching jobs. But the man who groomed possibly the best player ever to play, tracking that way, who took him from a pup and made him an MVP and a Super Bowl MVP, and he can't get a job?
Hey, Big Reg, do we really consider the Jets an NFL caliber franchise? It seems like they'll always give a black coach that job because it's like, okay, we threw you a bone. Now let's see what you can do. Unless they turn that team over in a way, it's like every time they get a good player, they ship them out of there. They had defensive linemen, they had safeties, they had wide receivers, they had people that were building pieces to a team. They keep getting the number 1 high picks every year, but yet the franchise can't turn around. I mean, we got to go back to Mr. Sanchez, Mark Sanchez, Mr. Butt Fumble, and Mr. Ryan as the coach before the last time they had any real success. I mean, but do we really consider that a great job for Mr. Salah? I don't.
But here's what it's an opportunity. Whether or not we consider it a real job, it is an opportunity. But here's the issue, fellas. This is what I want to ask you guys. We have a league that if I ask anybody who owns the NFL, no one owns it. The people that actually own the NFL are the franchises. The teams that exist in the NFL actually own the NFL. The NFL is not ruled by Roger Goodell because Roger Goodell's his office on paper have seemingly made strides as far as implementing processes and procedures to go about the process of hiring leadership positions. Leadership by saying presidents of teams, general manager teams, and head coaches of teams. So those are the leadership positions that I referenced to. So they have had processes in place to do that. But the problem is the NFL is ruled by a 32-member executive committee. This executive committee exists of the majority owners of the franchises of the NFL. These are the same men and women that shut Colin Kaepernick out, blackballed him to a point where he cannot get a job. These are the same men and women that will get on TV and tell you, oh, we have the Rooney Rule. The Rooney Rule was implemented in 2003. It was modified and it was modified in 2009, and then it was once again modified last May because of the lack of hiring and the protest that was occurring in our country over systemic racism and police brutality towards African Americans in this country, amongst other things. So we can't expect these surface policies to really affect change, because we've seen it. We've seen it already. You can't force these people to make decisions about who they want to represent their franchises. No piece of paper is going to make them. They'll go through the process to avoid lawsuits as far as interviewing 2 candidates or 3 candidates or whatever it's up to by now, as far as minority candidates. But you're not going to force people to hire them. Now, we have to give credit where credit is due. We can say, regardless of the circumstances surrounding these hires, the Washington football team became the first franchise in the NFL history to have a black president, a black GM, a minority head coach, and also credit goes to them for hiring the first black female full-time coach this past just a few weeks ago. So, and then we have the Atlanta Falcons who did hire a coach, a non-minority head coach, but they had a position opening for their GM position, and their owner, Arthur Blank, who, by the way, was one of the original members who came up with the Rooney Rule. He sat on that committee to form that law. He interviewed five candidates for that GM job, and his stipulation was they had to be black men and or women to even get an interview. So credit them. I just want to give them credit for at least they did truly go through the process of trying to diversify their front offices.
Before y'all jump in real quick, I just want to Ed hit something real quick, but I want to really spotlight real quick. Just give a shout out. Jennifer King, congratulations, becoming the first black female to be a full-time assistant coach in the NFL. She's assistant running back coach for the Washington football team. Go ahead, Professor.
My problem with that rule is that for more than 20 to 30 years, we knew when that rule was created that it was just a pacifier. I remember growing up thinking, okay, that's a first step to something that's going to grow to something bigger. And I think that we can be real honest right now that based on the little modifications of that rule, and when you look around the NFL, I think Shad Khan is the only minority that's come into existence owner since that time has happened. There's been a shuffle deck of chairs with head coaches, offensive coordinators, defensive coordinators, men of color who've been given positions, but a short leash, 1 or 2 years in those positions, and then they're gone. And then you look around the league, you got some subpar coaches that are retreads that get time and opportunity after opportunity again. My problem with jobs like the New York Jets being an opportunity is that there are a bunch of opportunities for us out there. But do we allow ourselves to be scapegoats or to be the faces of franchises that after 2 years, if I don't do a bang-up job, I'm gone? And then you can't then go from there to making noise, because then your career might be over. Because if you make noise as a minority candidate when your star is rising, you're not going to hear anything from Eric Bieniemy or any of those other cats that are trying to get head coaching jobs. Look at what Raheem Morris just did in Atlanta. And I mean, he couldn't even get a sniff at getting a head coaching job. But then you're going to bring some cat from across the country that don't have as much experience as he does. He's been a head coach before, been a coordinator before, been a position coach before. He's shown what he can do with a team that gave up on a head coach that didn't want to play for him anymore. But then you don't give him a shot to be a head coach of a team that clearly has talent. I mean, Atlanta is like on that mid-level plane where they can either retool and be good again, or they can tank and go down. But why not give the man a chance? Because obviously the locker room listened to him and they started to play much better. I'm just tired of the same process all over again. And then people sit back. NFL needs to take a page out of the NBA's handbook. They need to start making noise and saying, we're not going to allow these things to start happening. If that means that some people got to be sacrificial lambs, well, if you really care about the cause, then if you're a veteran player and you made your money, stop making noise. But see, we don't have enough stand-up people in the NFL like we do the NBA that's saying, I ate, so let me do something to make sure the people after me gonna eat. That's all I'm saying, fellas. The Rooney Rule has been there for a very long time. and there's no modifications. There's nothing else coming down the pipe that's going to change that. We got one player now that we can say is really making a stance, and that's Deshaun Watson. But who else do we have?
Amen.
But Professor J, don't you think it's easier in the NBA to make a stand? Because I think for two reasons. Number one is that the NBA roster is so small that one player could literally influence the entire team, and so I think you have that. And then also the NBA has two things. Well, they have the way their contracts are structured and the amount of their contracts. So they have Deshaun Watson actually at $39 million a year now. He actually has the clout and the financial resources to say to make difficult, maybe life altering decisions in a sport that maybe you get 3 to 5 years out of on average, and you can call that a career. So I think that might be influencing a lot of these athletes to sit down and just accept what they're seeing. I don't think it's right, but maybe that might be behind it. I'm just speculating.
They got to start from somewhere. Was it Chris Smith, Abdul Raouf? He took a stand many years ago when the NBA wasn't having certain things going on. And maybe that's Colin Kaepernick for us today. But are we going to really wait 20 to 30 years to really demand change to get to where the NBA is right now? It's got to start with somebody. I'm sorry, Big Reg. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, there seems to be one thing that gets the NFL to move, and it's public shaming. It's not even money. It's public shaming. What got the ex-Carolina Panther owner up out of Carolina, who was a former player, the first former player ever to own a team?
Mm-hmm.
The public shame of that situation. Since it's out there, why is the Washington football team hiring all these minorities?
Because of what's going on.
The public shaming of what's going on with that franchise, between the scandal with the cheerleaders, the scandal with the payment, the scandal with the women in the building. So he had to make a change in order to make things look good for him, in order for him to not be the next Jerry Richardson in Carolina.
But do we want to
go ahead?
Do we want to continue? Do we want to continue to accept just being thrown a bone? I completely agree with the public shaming. Yes, you are absolutely correct. But the embarrassment they feel from that, they may throw us a bone for a hot second, then they'll get back to usual. They really don't dig us. You know, they don't want, they're completely fine with having black players dominate the field, Tyreek Hill doing this, that, and the third. But then when you want to put a black face as a coach or even the owner of an organization, they don't want you having that cerebral, I'm the one making all these decisions, making money decisions, doing this, that, and the third for the team. So it goes to the point where I feel a guy like Ice Cube who tries to start the XFL. They do not accept us. If I go into the 7-Eleven and every day I walk in there, you treat me horribly, or you hire my son and you hire this other kid, but you tell my son there's never potential for him to run that place, 9 times out of 10, I'm going to take him out of there. They put a ceiling on you, and in fact, they're trying to use you. It's exploitation, and I'm tired of being exploited. But at the same time, I'm a part of the problem, because no matter what, I don't care who's coaching, who's head coach for the Chiefs or who's going to be head coach for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'm watching that game. So the problem starts with us. At this point now, we have several individuals, generation after generation of black players being paid well. It's time for us to challenge the NFL or the NBA for that reason. The NBA got with the times. They did what's necessary to keep them afloat. What the NFL knows is that they don't have to play to us to stay afloat. Black people still going to watch anyway. People of color are still going to watch anyway. So we can limit their head coaching jobs. We can limit them as being GMs. We can limit them as being coordinators. As long as we continue, and see, it's a catch-22. With sports in particular, it tends to be an outlet, a consistent outlet for people in the black community. So what you have is us trying our hardest to become coaches, But at the same time, every time you stop us from coming a head coach, you still got a line that's just as long for people who are willing just to be players. So when are we going to, I'm not saying that we aren't accepting responsibility, but I think ultimately, the truth hurts. The power is in our hands for real. What are we going to do?
I agree with you totally. The power is also in the players' hands, the big time players, and it's going to be interesting. Deshaun Watson has a chance to follow on with what Kaepernick started and make a statement about the organization he plays for. And it may take him sitting out and saying, I'm not coming back to the Texans at all. And he'll probably never say the reason, but if you do a little digging and all that, it's very easy to see that organization supported certain people, made certain comments, and did certain things because they were anti-black players. They don't mind having them on the field, but they traded their best tackle, a left tackle, to Seattle years ago when the owner made the comment about we can't let the inmates run the asylum, and he made a comment, I'm not no inmate. He got traded within 2 weeks. So it's going to take players like Deshaun, and he doesn't deserve this responsibility in any way or form, to say, you know what, I'm not going to play for an organization like this. I've seen it from my own eyes. When their best player, their Hall of Fame wide receiver, the only person in their team Hall of Fame, Andre Johnson, told the quarterback, get out of there. They're going to ruin your career.
That's terrible.
But
if enough players won't go play for that team unless they're drafted there, that'll make things change.
But Big Reg, Johnny, Professor J, all of you guys are spot on as far as what needs to be done. But let us sports mirrors society. So if even though the league is 70% black, but at the same time, if you don't have your superstars, the Tom Brady's, the Aaron Rodgers, heck, Patrick Mahomes, if you don't have these type players all on board supporting one another, like in the NBA, you do have everybody on board lockstep with one another, regardless of where you came from, what background, socioeconomic, whatever. They're all lockstep. If you don't have everybody in on it, then if it's just, even if it's a majority of people saying, hey, enough is enough, it's not real change. Unfortunately, is not really going to be realized. I just don't see it.
But you made a key distinction between society and the sport. It's 70% black. So you have a majority of the minorities from society that could have a much larger voice in said sport. If you stand up and you make that voice heard, what they going to do? Lock out 70% of the league that brings them in the revenue that they trying to protect? No. If two players stand up, yeah, they could blackball them like Kaepernick. But if you have a conglomerate of players that say, what's up, we ain't going to do this. This is why I like Martin Mayhew, but I also look at some of his track record. I like Troy Vincent, but I look at some of his track record when they were able to walk the halls of the NFL corporate building. Like, what are you doing to actually push what we have going on as far as making sure that minorities get more say and more status in these particular organizations? Yeah, you can say there's opportunity there, and I'm halfway clapping for what's going on in the Washington organization. But had these scandals not come out, it would have been more the same with this franchise, and he would have hired some more good old boys to be in those positions, and the team would still suck the way that it does now. But my point is that what are they going to do with these opportunities? Will they get a real chance to turn a franchise around, or the moment they trip and fall, are they out the door? And then people will allow that to happen and not make any noise, because people in the NFL just seem real selfish to me. You want to hold on to what you have, but you don't want to pave the way for somebody else to be there. And what you have in that percentage of minorities that's in the game, you got a louder voice that you don't want to use.
you've got two young leaders in this new NFL that I think are going to change that perception. Let's not forget, do y'all remember Roger Goodell sitting in his basement reading the statement word for word verbatim that the NFL players who were put together and backed by Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson about racial injustice? Did y'all ever think Roger Goodell and the NFL owners would allow Roger Goodell to say that? It's going to take the Deshaun Watsons with the backing of Patrick Mahomes, because guess what? They're in lockstep. Patrick Mahomes, once he signed his contract, he sent a copy of his contract to Deshaun Watson to negotiate his contract. This new breed of superstar quarterbacks, which will run down to the superstar running backs and receivers, are changing. Just like the rest of this world is changing. And I think now's the time. I think Watson's going to make a stand, and that's going to start a small wave into a big wave.
Believe it when I see it.
Yeah, me too.
I hear you. Well, we're going to keep y'all informed on the Deshaun Watson drama, because based on everything I've been reading and seeing, he's told them through his representatives, because he's not returning their calls or their texts, that I'm not coming back no matter who you hire. I don't care if you hire a black coach now to try to placate me. I'm not going for it. I'm too smart.
So then where you think he's going to end up? Sitting out?
No.
He's going to end up either New York Jets, because supposedly Richard Sherman and the boys have told him a lot of good things about Robert Salah, or he's going to end up in Miami. He has a no-trade clause, so they can't send him wherever they want. And he wants to go to a good young team that has minority representation in their organization.
So if he go to Miami, he going to bump your boy Tua?
Hey, price to pay. I'm sorry, Tua. If I was Miami, Deshaun Watson, Tua, and some draft picks, I'd help him pack.
It's a no-brainer, you ask me.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the round ball. The NBA. We're a month into the NBA season, and quite honestly, with this coronavirus going on, it's really hard to tell which team is really doing good, which team is bad. I mean, you got organizations like the Wizards that couldn't play for over a week and a half. Now I think it's Houston had a big outbreak. There's another team that's had to cancel all their games this week. So it's kind of hard to judge what's going on in pro basketball. But there have been a couple of bright spots that have kind of jumped out. And Jay Wills, what are the teams early on that you would say have jumped out and shown that they are legit contenders?
Well, if we start with the Eastern Conference, right now we're about a quarter way through. And at the top of the Eastern Conference, to everybody's surprise, you're actually going to find the Philadelphia 76ers. They're sitting at 12-6. Yep. It will be your lowly Philadelphia 76ers. But they actually play well during the regular season. I see them falling anywhere between 1 and 4. There's 1 and 5. That's generally where they fall. They got a young nucleus of a Joel Embiid and a Ben Simmons. But there's a problem with this. I would have a problem with it if I was a head coach or one of the guys making decisions for the Philadelphia 76ers, is I see a problem that's coming in the horizon. They definitely make the playoffs. The problem is how they operate in the playoffs. And right now, their starting point guard, their first round 6'10" starting point guard, is only averaging 12 points per game. And he has historically had one of the worst three-point shooting percentages that I have ever seen. In fact, he rarely even takes them. Statistically, he is actually taking less than 1 3-pointer per game. Now, this is the new positionless basketball NBA we're talking about. So for your point guard at 6'10" to only take 1 3-pointer a game, that may work during the regular season, but it definitely is not going to work in the playoffs. And with a team like the Philadelphia 76ers, you're not even so much as worried about the regular season anymore. It is getting over that playoff hump. So for them, I see a big issue. The other team out of the East that is catching a lot of attention would be the Brooklyn Nets. Now they just got Kyrie just got back from what I like to call early retirement. Went down to Florida for a couple of days and came back. But Kyrie returned shortly after James was acquired. When James was acquired, he made an immediate impact. He went for a triple-double his opening night. The second game they played, he put up another 36-point game. I want to say he had 12 assists. He was this close to catching another triple-double. It looked like him and KD had heck of a flow. They played together. They're used to one another. James Harden has been on a star-studded team before, so he is used to having to fall back a little bit and move the ball around, but it's accurate enough from three-point line and from distance, period, where he can still get you anywhere from 25 to 35 points a game. He is a very unique talent. Kyrie, once he got back into the fold, when he came back from early retirement, he kind of threw off the flow just a little bit. He threw off the flow just a little bit.
Ooh, that's understatement. Go ahead, my bad.
You're absolutely fine. He immediately takes over ball handling duties from James Harden. Okay, you're the point guard, cool. Take the ball handling duties. But he averages under 6 assists a game for his career from the point guard position, which is unacceptable. I was just knocking Ben Simmons for not properly scoring the type of points he needs to score. But at the same time, Ben Simmons is averaging 8.7 assists per game. He is giving you proper assists per game production from the starting point guard role. You're not going to find that in Kyrie. In fact, he disrupted the flow so much that they went against the number 7 Cleveland Cavs. I believe the Cavs are number 7 in the East at 8 and 9. But the Brooklyn Nets struggled mightily in back-to-back games against the Brooklyn Nets. Excuse me, against the Cleveland Cavs. You should have ran the Cleveland Cavs off the road. Ed, you have a question?
Yeah, I got a question for you, Jay Wills, and it involves Kyrie and Ben Simmons, and what you mentioned earlier about the new NBA being positionless. If Kyrie is having lack of assists and Simmons lack of three-point attempts, if we're living in an era now that there's a positionless NBA, why is it so vital that these players who by definition are point guards, but like you mentioned now, really there's no position in the NBA. Why is it so vital that these two particular stats, again, Kyrie with the assist and Ben Simmons with the three-pointers, why is it so vital that these players change their ways or face certain doom moving on into the season and deep into playoffs?
Can I get a little bit of this?
Okay.
Yeah,
absolutely. With Ben Simmons in the playoffs, when a team gets to lock down and isolate you for a 7-game series, they're going to be looking to take away something and expose something to make you do something that you don't want to do. Ben Simmons is an all-pro, all-defensive player. He's a great rebounder, great assist guy. But if you can't shoot, they're going to basically not guard him whenever he's outside the paint, which means you're playing 5 against 4 on defense. With Kyrie, it wouldn't be a problem if Kyrie wasn't getting assists if he wasn't a ball hawk. Kyrie's pounding the ball. If you got control of the ball and you've got great shooters, they got Joe Harris, who's shooting over 50% from 3 this year, who for the first 2 games Kyrie came back, he couldn't even get shots because Kyrie was taking all the shots. That's the problem. Mine.
I'm a completely co-sign Big Reg. It's all about developing your game. Yeah, I'm not asking them to change their game. I'm asking them to expand their game. You have to make defenses respect you. Just like in football, if a player struggles, if you got a cornerback that struggles, I'm picking on this guy. I'm coming that way. I'm going to abuse your weakness. So what you do is you put your best defender. If I'm playing the Brooklyn Nets, I'm going to mess around and put not necessarily my best off-ball defender on Kyrie or on Ben Simmons. If he can't shoot the three, I'm gonna put my best off-ball defender, and I'm gonna basically have this guy floating around, just like Big Red said. It's 5-on-4. If you're not going to shoot the three, it's no reason for me even coming to check you anywhere near the three-point line. I'm just going to hang back, wait for you to play to your strengths, similar to what they do to Giannis Antetokounmpo. That's his problem when it gets down to the playoffs. But the thing with Giannis is at least he will shoot a three. He will attempt to shoot the three. The fear that he could actually put the ball in the air makes a defender come out to the three-point line. With Ben Simmons and literally averaging less than one shot a game, that's mean you're taking one every 4 to 5 games and you're barely making it. There's no reason for me to even approach you anywhere near the three-point line. And there's no way you're going to come against a Miami Heat or the Boston Celtics and them guys sit there and not dissect you and make you pay for your weakness. So that's something they're going to have to improve upon, especially from a first-round point guard. You're only averaging 12 points per game. You should be averaging at least 18. He's a dominant athlete, and I think eventually with all the scrutiny and whatnot, he will have to add that to his game, and I think he will. I think the ceiling is high for Ben Simmons, but what they needed for you to do is to do that now. You've actually disrespected the work that you and Joel Embiid have put together. If the only way you can get solid offensive production is if you're in the paint with him, that knocks away the point guard big man relationship. If y'all got to stay in the same room.
But for Simmons, that's all mental though, right? Because he really can shoot the ball. He just doesn't shoot it.
And that's where it kind of brings me to the argument we was making against Lamar Jackson. Well, whose fault is it? Do we knock the coaches because he won't take more shots? Or do we knock
Doc ain't putting him in position.
Oh, you gonna put it on Doc? He been shooting shots since he been in the
NBA. No. Jay Wills got it. I'm picking on Mr. Pandemic Paul.
Okay,
that maybe Doc not doing his job and putting him in position. That's all I'm doing, Big Red. Slow down, calm down, Big Red.
I got you. I missed that one. That's a good one.
Now, my question to you all: would it be wrong for Joel Embiid to pull a move out of the player like the players used to do back in the day and say something to the media about it to ruffle his feathers a little bit? He gets a lot of pressure from outside individuals, but is it finally time to say something to Ben like, bro, we're not going to get to the second, third round of these playoffs if you don't shoot a jumper? It's like asking the teacher to make sure they keep pencils sharpened. You're supposed to do this.
Hey, Jay Wills, he did that on Twitter all last year. He was throwing shots.
Yeah, it was done already.
Yeah, but he's not doing it this year because I think he respects Doc too much. So I don't think he'll do. He was doing it last year. But I think this year, Doc probably was like, look, that's not going to work now. I believe that Doc has him settled down.
But even still, it wasn't effective because he still ain't shooting.
They've tried to address the situation by bringing in other shooters. They brought in Seth Curry, who can shoot the ball.
Yes, sir.
Who can sure shoot the ball. They've also changed the offense so it's not just Joel or Ben with the ball all the time. So they're hoping that that'll change. But in the East, we'll see. Everybody's saying the big three is going to be good. But I still like them boys in Milwaukee. Quiet is kept. They're playing good. And Boston with them young studs in Boston, they real good. But let's talk real quick about the Western Conference. I think it's really only 2 teams out west that's making any real noise so far. And they both happen to be in the same building. Am I wrong, Jay Wills?
You're absolutely right. And finally, hopefully, this season we can get the Western Conference Finals that we all deserve.
Talking about the Warriors? Talking about the Warriors?
It ain't going to be the Clippers.
I would love to see Steph Curry back in that limelight, but with Klay Thompson going down, Draymond being just a little older, I don't know if you necessarily have that same nucleus over there. But it seems to me that the LA Clippers, well, first let's address the Lakers since that'll be very easy. Returning champs. LeBron's still there. AD is still there. They picked up Montrezl Harris. They picked up one of the Gasol brothers. They're still playing dominant basketball. Brooklyn Nets lost twice to the Cavs. The LA rolling to Cleveland. And LeBron gives them dudes 46 points. The same individuals that the Brooklyn Nets struggle with. He takes over in the fourth quarter. In fact, LeBron puts up 21 in the fourth quarter.
Right.
Cleveland Cavs put up 19.
I didn't realize that was his first shot back in 2 years. I didn't realize that.
Because last season, you know, them having to go to the bubble kind of slowed it. I think they was going to have a late season game there, but that kind of got thrown in wraps. But nonetheless, the Clippers. Let's focus in on the Clippers. So the LA, I believe LA will meet them there. LA will be in the Western Conference. The Lakers, specifically. The Clippers, though, they are playing some amazing basketball right now. Pandemic P, I'm gonna go ahead and call him Paul again for right now. That's Paul
in the regular season. In the regular season.
It's regular season. Kawhi is back to his robotic-like state. He's back to being himself. The claws being the claw. He's playing great defense. He gets ups and down the floor. I'm not particularly sure if he's taking a lot of back-to-back games off, but I think he's actually playing a little bit more. They seem to be running in rhythm. I haven't had a whole bunch of Lou Williams sightings, but I don't go to the strip club.
Man, you can't beat the wings, though. Can't beat the wings.
That's what they say. That's what they say.
But like my man J3 was just saying, very much like the Philadelphia 76ers, I'm not really worried about what you're doing in the regular season. That's not your issue. Your issue is what are you going to do in the playoffs? And see, with that, we have to take a wait-and-see approach. There's no strategic, statistical, ideological breakdown of what these guys are going to look like in the playoffs because flat out last year, they just dropped the ball. They just didn't show up. They disappeared. It looked like you didn't put together a game plan. I don't know what to expect from these guys at all. They're playing a great regular season, and though it's only the first quarter, but once you get to the playoffs, Paul George, are you going to finally step out of that shell of not stepping up to the plate and doing what you're supposed to do? Or are you going to be hitting it off the backboard? Yes.
But is this season even going to be considered a legitimate season? Because basketball, which was such a shining example of how you actually can go about having a successful campaign last fall and into the winter as far as being in the bubble, this year, the interruptions in basketball, whether it's college level or pro level, it's been so many interruptions that we don't know who's going to play from day to day. And with that in mind, how legitimate can this season possibly be? Because again, like right now we have playoff. I guess you say he's not playoff P no more. You have Paul George and Kawhi right now under protocol right now. So you know what I'm saying? Like
they play. I completely feel what you're saying. They've played most games. They'll miss a couple of games, and then they'll be right back on the floor. NBA, very much like the NFL, they're not finna stop this show. It's too much money to be made. It's too much money they lost last season. So they're back out there on the road. They're back inside these stadiums. They're back inside these arenas. It doesn't matter if the whole team catches COVID, because this is the problem with most major sports. They know their athletes, nobody's passed. I hate to be so harsh and straight to the point. Nobody has gotten extremely sick to the point that they couldn't finish the season. Everybody that's received it, after about 7 to 10 days, they no longer have COVID. They're right back on the floor. So we're talking about a population of people within the United States who are in the best physical shape of their lives. They're going to continue to push forth. So I don't see anything stopping this season. And as far as does it ultimately affect how we feel about the season, if I don't knock the Lakers for winning in the bubble, then I'm not going to knock these guys winning out and about.
Right.
Yeah, and just to conclude, I think what may happen in the NBA, if for some reason the virus situation continues the way it's going now, you will see the playoffs in the bubble. They didn't want to ask the players to play 60, 70 games and be away from their families for 6 months. But to pay for 2 months, and they already got the G League is already going to be there. So it's going to be real easy for them to just bounce back to Florida and do that thing again. All right, let's move on real quick to the UFC. For you MMA fans, UFC 257 concluded this weekend, and I got to get a shout out to my man Dustin Poirier. He took out the trash-talking, money-making Conor McGregor, and the way he did it was just vicious. He chopped the man's front plant leg up for a round and a half till he literally Conor couldn't put weight on his leg anymore. He tried to backed up against the fence, two-piece. Blip, blip. Call it evening.
Man, that joint hurt my feelings, man.
Why that hurt your feelings, Professor?
I mean, I'm not a Conor McGregor fan per se, but I just wanted to see more of a better showing. And just right when I was getting into it, they mentioned his leg was beat up, and then right after that, it was like bloop bloop. I just threw my hands up like that because it looked like, Conor was boxing, doing his thing in the first round. It looked good, but you can look at the leg, the plant leg, and just see it was all red and bruised up and stuff. And I mean, like 5 seconds after they mentioned that leg, that's when he got knocked out. And I was just like, dang. And he just looked like he was in tears on the ground. Like he just couldn't believe it.
But Professor J, isn't that why we love the UFC so much? Is because anybody can
get it.
Yeah.
In Marshawn Lynch's words, can get got.
Yeah.
I mean, so even when a champion loses, even though Conor, he might be a little past his prime at this point, but even when someone loses, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, okay, it might not have been his night.
Yeah. You think they're gonna do a third one?
I think Conor wants to do a third one. I think the only way Poirier does a third one is if that's for the belt or after he does the fight for the belt.
Do you think Khabib comes out? You think Khabib comes back? Okay.
No. Unless they have a battle between the winner of the co-main event. And go ahead, J3, before I talk about the co-main event.
I was getting ready to say, didn't Conor try to say that he wanted to blame the loss for the time off that he had because he wasn't in the ring?
Yeah, Justin Poirier
as an excuse.
Yeah, Poirier didn't fight, but only once last year too. So yeah, right. Yeah. He didn't expect him to attack his leg the way he did, and it's funny. There's a clip if you Google it or check it out on YouTube. They meet in the hallway after the fight, and he said, "Man, you broke my leg."
Yeah,
they literally think he fractured his leg. So,
Poirier said he learned a lot from that first fight, and that he had something for him in this fight, and he backed that up.
Yep.
But in the co-main event, you have Michael Chandler, who for a long time's been trying to get in the UFC, and it's not that he didn't have the talent to be in the UFC. He was with the UFC's biggest competition, Bellator, who's the second largest mixed martial arts organization out there. And he was the champion at Bellator, but wasn't making UFC money. So finally got out of his Bellator contract. UFC signed him. He had to wait almost 8 months to finally get a chance to fight, and he put on a show. He took out top 10 ranked Dan Hooker in the first round. Yeah. He jumped on him early, beat him up. He beat that man so bad the man threw his gloves in the ring. And for you non-MMA fans, when a fighter puts his gloves in the ring after the fight, that means they're thinking about retiring, and they're done. So the fight is Chandler against Poirier for the soon-to-be vacant title, because Dana hasn't actually vacated the title from Khabib, trying to talk him back into it. But Khabib told him, Khabib said, I've already beat both of them, and neither one of them are on my level.
That was true. It's true.
Yeah.
So the only way that might interest him is, let's say Chandler beats Poirier, Chandler gets the belt. That's somebody he's never faced. That's the only way he comes back.
Wow. Chandler did look strong though. That was a strong performance.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And then when he jumped on the top of the thing and flipped over, I'm like, okay, don't kill yourself because you just won. But yeah, that was terrible too. The way
Yeah.
he punished him. Yeah.
Yeah, Dana said, I hate them guys jumping on the freaking top of
Yeah.
the cage and doing black flips. He said, I thought he was going to blow up both his knees or his
Right.
ankle. So for the MMA fans, it's going to be a big year. Dana's putting together some big cards. We got another a UFC main event coming next month. I think maybe even 2 in February. So he's doing big things.
Whew.
Professor, it's time for your takes, brother. You ready?
I'm ready.
Let's hit it.
All right, everybody. You know that we all have heavy hearts about the legend, the man who just passed away. I'm talking about Henry Hank Aaron. So tonight I wanted to do the post takes in honor of him and just point out some of his career highlights and who he actually was as a man. All right, so here we go. It was relieving today to get the news that Hank Aaron died from natural causes and not due to any side effects on issues from the COVID-19 vaccine. As you know, he is resting in peace as of last Friday at the tender age of 86. In 1974, the epic year in which Hank Aaron broke Babe Ruth's home run record, he used the many hate letters that he received as fuel for eventually shattering the record. He was quoted as saying, "If I was white, all America would be proud of me, but I'm black." And we concur, sir. Aaron set the Guinness World Record for the most fan mail received in 1974. Check this. The United States Postal Department confirmed 900,000 letters, with a third of them being hate mail. That is staggering. On April 13th, 1954, Hank Aaron became the final player from the Negro American League to make it to the major leagues, playing for the then Milwaukee Braves. It was a badge of honor that he would always carry, often saying that his greatness was attributed to Jackie Robinson. "I must do it for Jackie," he would often say. Hammerin' Hank is the only Hall of Famer that if you took away 755 of his home runs, that he would still have over 3,000 hits in his career, with a career batting average of over 300.
Wow.
In 2002, President George W. Bush awarded Mr. Aaron the prestigious Presidential Medal of Freedom for his outstanding service on and off the baseball diamond. Hank was an instrumental figure in the civil rights and politics, especially in the state of Georgia. He still is tied for the record for the most All-Star games with legendary Willie Mays and Stan Musial at 24. But check this. However, he stands alone with the record for the most All-Star selections at 25. That's unbelievable.
And to put that in perspective, he only played 23 years.
Right. It's great.
He got selected a couple of years for 2 different positions.
Right. Amazing. In 1982, he was inducted first ballot and first year of eligibility into the National Baseball Hall of Fame. And that's great because in a year where none of them are getting in, he did it on his first shot of eligibility in 1982. Records that he still holds at the time of his death. Most RBIs, 2,297. Extra base hits, 1,477. And total bases, fellas, 6,856. Many still continue to regard him as the home run king, despite the new record being 762, set by Barry Bonds. It goes without saying that Henry Louis Aaron is one of the greatest baseball players to ever live. There's certainly a case that he is the greatest, but the most endearing quality about this man was that he was and has been some of the same traits used to describe legends like Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., the Honorable John Lewis, and Jackie Robinson. Always a gentleman, humble, articulate, conscientious, peaceful, kind, intelligent, gritty, loving, and just a remarkable human being. He will truly be missed, and I bet you to always remember, I beg you to always remember his life beyond the stats and just limiting him to the baseball field. He was simply a great American. Rest in peace, sir. Turn it back over to you, Big Reid.
Absolutely. Hank Aaron, one of the America's finest.
Yes.
And if you do a little research, what he's done for civil rights and the political movement, again, especially in Georgia, is legendary. So we'll miss you, but you'll never be forgotten, Hammer and Hank. A couple other things that caught our eye over the week for you sweet science fans, the boxing fans out there. This Saturday, you got the IBF super middleweight champion, Caleb Sweet Hands Plant. He defends his title against former champion Caleb Truitt. So you got two Calebs going against each other, which should be a great fight. And for you fight fans, it's going to be free on Fox Saturday night.
Can't wait.
We talked about it earlier, but the NBA is struggling dealing with the pandemic after their great performance, dealing with the bubble for 2020. 2021 is different, but they on that NFL plan, full steam ahead. We're not stopping for anything, so good luck with that. Speaking of dealing with the COVID, University of Michigan shut down all of their sports for at least 2 to 3 weeks because a detection of the new strain of the COVID virus on campus that's starting to spread. So that's real serious. And that's the strain that's supposed to be highly, highly contagious. And now it's being reported from England, which it first popped up, that it's actually more lethal than the original strain, which is scary.
Oh, gosh.
And staying with Michigan, I just got to give a shout out. Most people did not see this and probably have never heard of this young lady, but hats off to Michigan junior power forward Naz Hillman. Naz Hillman dropped 50 points and had 18 rebounds in a game Saturday. Unfortunately, lost the game by 7 points, but Naz scored 50 of their 73 points.
Wow.
And I say it again, fellas, she's a power forward. She scored 50 points without a three-pointer. She does her work in the paint.
See, Ben
hard. She going hard.
Beast mode.
She set the Michigan record for scoring in a game, both men and women.
Nice.
So, hats off. Whenever I see somebody that really has done something amazing, I want to point them out. All right, fellas, it's time for us to get out of here. It's been another great week, so it's time for our final post. J3, what you got for me?
If you want to see a good documentary, check out Tony Parker's story on Netflix. It's real good.
Okay, appreciate the heads up. Professor, what you got for us?
Yeah, I just want to give a shout out to my brothers here, of course, for helping me celebrate another year on God's wonderful earth. A special shout out to my wife for putting things together with my family. You know, we had a wonderful time being on Zoom last night, y'all. But we had a great time. I'm so thankful and blessed to have a wonderful and marvelous wife, great family, great children. So I'm just thankful, y'all. But just continue to follow our advice and be safe out there, please.
Amen.
Amen. What you got for me, Ed?
I'm just, following suit. And it's just everybody be mindful of just the seriousness of the pandemic. I wish we wouldn't have to mention it every week for a year now, but here we are. I hope everyone's safe. Have a nice week. I'm looking forward to really getting into the matchups and studying what's going on in Super Bowl coming up. And I think I'm finally going to really try to get into the NBA, although it's constantly being interrupted. Everyone be safe and thanks for tuning in.
Jay Wills, it's your time, brother.
I'm on a mission to find the best cheesesteak in the DMV area. So fans out there, if you know about the best cheesesteak in the DMV area, please send a message to the
Your
Position
neighbor.
on Sports Show. Please slide in our DMs. I need to know. I've been let down over and over by these companies out here. I don't know if this is USDA grade beef. I'm upset. Somebody, please send me to the sirloin.
I got one for you to try, Jay Wills. It's right
Walker
over
Clark.
here in Bowie. It just opened up, so I'll send it to you. It's called Charlie's.
Go
Do that,
climb
please, sir.
climb out of the compound, open the door across the street, knock on J3's door. There you go. I fixed it. There you go.
Yeah, how I missed that one. That's the best one.
That's the best cheesesteak in town.
Man, I don't know about his cheesesteak, but that shrimp style po' boy he made me today was something.
That's good. That's good. On a little somber note, and I'm going to try to respect the wishes of Vanessa, but I feel remiss if we didn't remark that a year ago we lost 9 lives in what's possibly a senseless accident. And we lost a great girl dad with one of his baby girls. So I hope all of those individuals that were there are resting in peace and glory. And, you know, I just wish the families well. I know it's hard dealing with this stuff, and hopefully they can come to one day some peace to be able to continue to move on with their lives. All right. We'd like to thank y'all all for tuning in. We appreciate it. We know you have time, and time is important. You can be doing many things, and you decide to spend a little time with us. We appreciate it each and every week. You can check out our show. We're here live each and every Tuesday, 7 p.m. You can catch our show on Facebook and the Positional Sports YouTube channel each and every week. If you can't catch us live, you can catch all of our past shows. You can catch us on Facebook, again, our YouTube channel, Positional Sports Talk Show, and your favorite podcast. So if you don't want to watch the video and you just want to listen, check us out. Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcast, just look up Positions on Sports and we'll be there. We greatly appreciate it. If you stop by, like us, subscribe. Subscriptions are free. We greatly appreciate that. If you want to hit us up, like Jay Wills, to tell us where the best cheesesteaks in the DMV area are, you can hit us up on Facebook and Instagram. It's at Positions on Sports, or you can hit us up on Twitter at Positions on SPO1. Please, we'd love to hear from you. Be safe. Enjoy another week. We'll see you next week. We're going to be talking NFL, Super Bowl, and we're going to get more into NBA and NCAA. We appreciate you. Have a good week. Peace.
Peace.
See ya.
Chill.